Warriors share is that they bring a popular Nintendo franchise into the Warriors formula. So, in the case of Fire Emblem Warriors, you fight with these Fire Emblem characters, like in this case, Filippo is fighting with Hinuka, and you can also see that Camilla is helping him out. And you can perform combos by combining regular attacks and strong attacks in different patterns. And each character has a lot of different combos, so you're really, as you're fighting, you're sort of figuring out which combos work like which, like regular, strong attack, or multiple regular attacks and then finishing with a strong attack. There's a lot of these combos like Filippo is showing off right now.
Yes, and it just looks cool, you know, like you have these crazy attacks that defeat 50 enemies at the same time, for example. But as we can see now from the screen, you also have missions, of course. So in the case of this demo, we need to defeat 3 captains. This is the main objective, to make the enemy general come out and then defeat her, actually. But there are also side missions. So for example, now there is a thief, which I'm actually going to try to go and catch, because if he is left alone for a bit, he's gonna call reinforcements. So
yeah, so in general, the objective is shown on the top right corner, and
sometimes the enemy generals appear on the map, like Leo, again another Fire Emblem Fates character, Norian Dark Knight. So a magic user that is mounted on a horse.
Yeah, so as you see, you encounter a lot of characters that we know from Fire Emblem, especially from Fire Emblem Fates, Fire Emblem Awakening, which a lot of our fans have played on Nintendo 3DS.
Yeah.
And in this demo, there's sort of like a fake scenario for the demo. So in the full game, there's tons of Fire Emblem characters that are playable and that you recruit for your own army.
Nice. So you were explaining the map and the main
Yes, exactly. Before the cutscene, what I was trying to do was explain the map on the top right corner.
We can actually go into the map. Oh, yeah, before Leo makes very short work on me, we can just go into the map and show it off. So in this map, you can see all of the red symbols, all of the red castle symbols are enemy forts. The blue one is ours. If the enemy conquers our fort, we lose.
Yeah.
And I actually really like that our allied generals, our heroes, are represented by the sprites, just like in Fire Emblem games, where the 2D sprites, like in that game.
Yeah, and what is also nice is that Fire Emblem, of course, is a strategy series.
Yes.
And what Fire Emblem Warriors does is it carries over some elements from the strategy games into this very action-heavy game. So what Filippo is doing right now is he has the ability to give orders to all his heroes. So
for the very first time, right?
Yeah, this is the first time that people also on the show floor can experience it, because we've been talking about it in previous occasions, but we've never really shown it in a demo.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what you can see is that basically Filippo is selecting his different heroes and giving them orders to sort of spread out across the battlefield. So even the characters that you're not currently controlling, you can sort of give them direct orders to go to a certain area of interest and make use of their abilities there.
Exactly. So yeah, this is one of the first of the typical elements of the Fire Emblem franchise that gets implemented into the Warrior formula. Another element that, so giving orders, so you really now truly feel like a general commanding your armies. The other element is the weapon triangle.
Exactly.
So the typical weapon triangle of Fire Emblem, swords are strong against axes, axes are strong against spears, spears are strong against swords.
Yeah.
Is also implemented in Fire Emblem Warriors, which you can see on the map. Those icons, these double arrows pointing down, mean that there are enemies there that are weak to Xander, so they're probably axe users. If I change character, you'll see that the icons will change as well. So Cordelia, who is a lance user, has completely different vulnerabilities, and enemies that she's strong against. So you see that these double arrows change. So pointing down means that they're weak against your weapon type. Pointing up means that they're strong against your weapon type. So they will take much less damage, they will take much longer to kill, and they will be stunned also. They will take much longer to get stunned.
Yeah, and what is nice...
Show it inside
exactly.
The game.
Yeah, so what is nice about this is that these two things, giving commands and the weapon triangle, also tie into each other.
Yeah.
Because you can only control one character at the same time, of course. You see in the top left, you can cycle between characters, so there's multiple characters during a battle that you can switch between. But still, you're only performing the actions with one, while the AI is performing actions for the others.
Yes.
And by having the option to give commands, you can effectively make use of this weapon triangle and send the right commanders to the right areas where they have an advantage on the weapon triangle. So it's a really nice thing that actually fits very well into the Warriors franchise.
Yes. Yeah. I always describe this game as basically this is what happens in a Fire Emblem game when you give orders to your troops. We see it like in action, basically. So one of the side missions that I was talking about before was defeating the thief. Which I just did. Also because the thief was a sword user, so he's strong against, was weak against Hinoka's spear. So now some Pegasus Knight appeared, just like Hinoka. So knights mounted on Pegasus.
There we have it. Yes.
And as we know from the Fire Emblem games, mounted units on Pegasi are very weak against archers.
Yeah.
So fortunately, I can swap to Takumi with an archer, and it's also.
I love Takumi.
Yes,
yeah. Maybe
really
just show a few really cool combos with Takumi, because
let me get
his moveset is very different from characters that have a melee weapon.
Yeah. Yes, and let me just get to a Pegasus Knight so we can show you how quickly.
Oh, wait. Oh, so what you could see was that the Pegasus Knight actually had an exclamation mark next to it.
Yeah, you can see it on the map as well, the others. Just like exactly like in Fire Emblem games, an exclamation mark means that the enemy is an especially weak vulnerability. I mean, is especially vulnerable to your attacks. So as you've seen, I basically shot 2 arrows and I defeated the Pegasus Knight.
Yeah, well, for instance, you can see that the fourth captain has a small resistance to Takumi.
Yeah, one arrow going up.
Exactly. So arrows going up means they have a resistance towards you. Arrows going down means they have a weakness towards you. And the exclamation mark means you have an extreme advantage against them.
Yeah. Yes. And so I defeated, as I said, the Pegasus Knight in about 2 attacks. And I'm trying to complete this side mission. Somebody leveled up. And also the level up system comes from Fire Emblem, where you have a random increase. Oh, that's good, because a lot of stats have been increased. Just like in Fire Emblem, sometimes you level up and you level up only 2 stats. Sometimes, like in this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stats that have leveled up, which is quite cool. And now I'm going to try to get into the Pegasus Knight, find that guy. Yeah, there he is.
So again, you can see the exclamation marks. And once Filippo hits them, they receive an immense amount of damage.
Oh, you know somebody else.
Yeah, you also encountered another familiar hero from Fire Emblem Fates, Ryoma.
Yes.
Ryoma is a sword user.
Yes.
And Takumi, of course, is a bow user, so he doesn't necessarily have an advantage or disadvantage from the weapon triangle, but in this case you can see that Ryoma still has a bit of a
but even though they are not particularly, there are no, let's say, they are equal because they're both sword user, I have to fight Ryoma with Xander because that's the classic battle of Fire Emblem Fates. So
definitely.
We want to, they are always like one against the other in Fire Emblem Fates. So
and what you can see is that Ryoma is really blocking Xander's attacks.
Everything that I'm doing, so I'm trying to use, and it's actually, so I'm using a warrior special with the A button, which are these super combos that you see. And I also leveled up. Of course, for this demo, all of the characters are very close to leveling up so that we can show the stats increase. And all of the Pegasus Knight have also been defeated by my other allies. So I'm now cornering against the wall, but he's blocking almost everything I do. So I'm just gonna dodge. I love that with the mounted units, you can just push people around on your horse. So let me try to start another combo.
So what you can see there, this white gauge, that's when you dodge an enemy's attack, they are vulnerable to being stunned. So a white stun gauge means that you just have to attack multiple times to break through their stun. But for instance, when you have a weapon triangle advantage, that gauge will turn yellow, and it will actually deplete much faster so that you can stun them much quicker. So that's again a way in which the weapon triangle gives you an advantage in battle. And what is nice is that these implementations just feel very natural.
Yeah.
Because they feel like the integration into a Warriors game is as it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Oh, so I can see from the map that one of my allies is in danger, which is Camilla. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm gonna go back into the map, and I'm gonna basically tell her to heal herself.
What is it? Of course. What is it?
Yeah.
So I can just tell her to use one of the vulnerabilities, one of the items. And actually, because we haven't shown her yet, I'm going to just swap to Camilla, who is an axe user. So again, a very different weapon vulnerability, and we can see it here again against the 4 captain, who is a spear user in this case. So he's very weak to me.
There you see the
golden stun gauge
before we leveled up.
Yes.
Interesting. Even I
Also, in the the combos you can do really are very different based on which character you use.
See how fast the stun gauge there depleted.
And when the stun gauge is depleted, you do a special move. You do an automatic combo. That's quite cool.
You see Xander there. Maybe we can show another element of Fire Emblem, namely the ability to pair up characters.
mission complete.
So I can pair up, just like in Fire Emblem, when 2 characters fight together, their affinity improves, so they just keep fighting better together.
Yeah.
But the other cool thing is that, well, we defeated all of the captains.
Exactly.
So now we have the enemy general, which actually is
Corinne.
I mean, she can turn parts of her body or her whole body into a dragon, which I find really cool.
Yep.
And she's definitely a tough enemy. So I'm just gonna, first of all, order everybody else, like Robin.
So Robin is a special character, if you want to say so, because he doesn't actually have a real weapon. He has his
tome
equipped because he's a tactician.
Well, it's like how Leo also had a tome equipped. So, and like how, for instance, Takumi has a bow equipped. So there's different weapons that fall outside of the classic weapon triangle, but they still have advantages and disadvantages against certain other weapon types. What is nice here is that you can see that Filippo is really focusing on getting all the captains to that hot spot in the corner where Corinne is waiting.
And I'm going there with also with Camilla paired with Xander.
And one thing that's nice about pairing the characters is you can see now in the top left corner that Camilla's icon is the big icon, but Xander's icon is a bit smaller. Maybe you can just fight against a few enemies.
Let me just...
Because we have some time.
Yes, we still have some time left, so I'm just gonna fight against this Pegasus Knight and this fighter at the same time.
Yeah, and what you can see is that next to Xander's face, there's 2 icons appearing.
And when they're paired up, they also do combos together. And also you can see sometimes when I fight that I get a little heart icon on the top of the head of Camilla. And that means that the affinity between Xander and Camilla has improved, basically.
Yeah, and it's like there's the big, of course, the big system of pairing up a character, but it is also put through in smaller things. Like, for instance, when you see ZR and Y next to Xander's faces, he can actually defend Camilla against an incoming attack, or he can do a support attack, which was an element that in recent Fire Emblem games has been used a lot. So it's again these little nods to the strategic elements of Fire Emblem games, which just feels very natural in a much more action-oriented game like this. And that's where you get this feeling like how Filippo was saying, this is what it looks like if you have a real-time action Fire Emblem.
Yes. So now, for example, Corin is strong against Camilla. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to swap the pairing. So I'm going to instantly move to Xander, and I could do it again, and they can even keep combos. Or she can hit both as well. So
yeah, maybe you can briefly switch back to Camilla, because then we can also show the awakening power.
Yes, so Camilla is that R gauge on the left of her portrait. If I press the R button, I get into awakening mode, which means that all of my attacks, you see how the weapon triangle changed? She was first strong against Camilla, now Corin is weak against her.
And every awakening attack ends
with a special move. Like
Are you trying to die?
this one.
Wow.
And but still Corin still pretty strong, so I'm gonna attack with Xander, switch back to him.
Then you can show a few more things.
And yeah, we can show some cool combos. I love how the horse just jumps around and flips, and it's a very acrobatic horse.
And what you can also see is that because Filippo has sent all the commanders towards Corin, it means that everyone is now ganging up on Corin, and we really sort of go full force against the boss of this demo.
Yes.
Which again, as I said, is a fictive scenario for the demo purposes. So
yeah, we can actually see all of my heroes there in front of Corin. She's actually running away.
Yeah, because she wants to move back into her fort, because that's where her army is waiting. So that's where she gets the support of her fort captain, for instance. And what's quite interesting is that you can now see on... Ooh, you did the double warrior special again.
Yes.
Which is always good.
Yeah. I mean, this game
might be the end.
The attacks, these combos, that always just look super cool.
Yeah.
And it's
everything explodes and...
well done.
I made that short part of Corin.
What is quite amazing is that every time we've shown a demo, we've shown different characters.
Yes.
And what you can see is that these characters all have very distinct movesets, so they also give a very much personality to each of the heroes as we know it. And that's something that I think is very much also, again, something that appeals to Fire Emblem fans, because if you've played a Fire Emblem game before, there's always a few characters that have a special place in your heart, because the permadeath system means that if you lose a character, you lose them forever. And that was, of course, a very traditional thing in Fire Emblem games. And there's always these characters that you remember, okay, I really, really don't want anything to happen to this character. And that means that when they have now this expanded moveset, it also enhances your affinity towards them.
Yeah, and definitely we've shown so many of these characters. Now, of course, all of these heroes in this demo were fighting each other. This demo is also fairly easy. Of course, later on it becomes not as easy. You really need to keep an eye on the entire battlefield, because there are a lot of events that happen, and you risk that really the battle can turn very quickly.
I can imagine.
And also, all of these heroes that were fighting each other, that are the protagonists of Fire Emblem Awakening and Fire Emblem Fates, they actually will be able to fight for you. So all of these characters that we've shown, even the ones that we fought, are actually playable by the player when the game will be released. There's going to be really a lot of Fire Emblem characters. So as Chris said, you surely will be able to find your favorite hero to fight with. And each combo system is different. So really learning how to use them effectively and at harder difficulty modes or in harder missions is not so trivial.
I think for me, one of the main reasons that I'm really looking forward to this game is that, as you said in the beginning,